outer layer has all the sperm cell. Right? That's the first slide. The next slide, there are still hundreds of these sperm cells around the egg cell. And you can see from the electron micrograph that this is all real time. So the sperm cell is still alive. Because you can see one picture, the tail of the sperm is here. The next picture, the same position, the same spot, but the tail is now in this position to show that the tail has moved. So the sperms are all alive. Now they're all trying to penetrate the first layer of the outer membrane, then second layer of the outer membrane, and then get to the nucleus, and then fertilize the egg. Now, what was very interesting, which I didn't know, I didn't learn this in university or in medical school or whatever. What was a great observation was that this egg, this is the egg. There are two layers of outer layer. The outer layer and the inner layer of the membrane. Right? So there are two layers of the membrane. So when they penetrate the first layer, there were about 6 or 7 sperm. Those are gung-ho, strong, macho sperm. Pass through the first layer. So they now go to the inter membrane layer. All right. Oh, you have a pen?
Wala, microphone niya. Microphone. Hindi pwedeng kunin yung microphone. Salamat.
This is the first slide. Then you know what happened the second slide? In the second slide, there's still hundreds and hundreds of sperm cells everywhere. Alright? Now the second slide, you see that the sperm cell, about 6 or 7 of them, have penetrated the first membrane, and they're here, and they are here, they're here, they're here, and they're here. So you see these sperm cells have passed the first membrane. It is now, the next task is to go through the second membrane, and then swim to this nucleus and claim the trophy, fertilize the egg. But what was very interesting here, which I didn't know in medical school, is this. When they pass the first membrane, in subsequent slide, all the sperm tail, you can see that they move. That means that they're all still, there's mobility. But the sperm cell that enter the first membrane, suddenly all of them freeze. They don't move anymore. We used to think that they actually fight their way and see who race in to claim the trophy. But they don't. All the sperm cells all freeze. They don't move. If they don't move, then how do you fertilize the egg? Right? Now, that's interesting. Then the next slide came out, we saw that of the 6-7 sperm cells inside there, the egg chooses one of the sperm cell, alright? And let's say this one. Then there's a small finger-like structure that comes out from the inner membrane, alright? Like this. Imagine if this is the sperm cell, suddenly this is the membrane. Suddenly you see there's a finger-like structure that come out. And this finger-like structure begin to come, the sperm cell is here, come, and then it goes in and engulfs it, and this part open up, and it pushes the sperm cell in. That sperm cell then goes in to fertilize the egg. So when, in the panel of the IRO, all of them were men. It's a man's world. In the religious world, it's a man's world. But there was one lady in that panel called Sister Teresa. And she was a very nice you know, very close to the Bahais as well. Sister Teresa, she was the only lady sitting on that table. Then I stopped there and I said, Sister Teresa, do you not see something here? All these sperm cells are fighting their way to claim the trophy. But do you really realize that how much God works, how God works? I say here, he smiled at me and he said, what is that? I say, look here. It's not the fetus that goes in. It's the women that has the last say. It's the women that has the last say. The women. That is the egg cell that choose which sperm cell do I want. Not you choose the egg. The egg choose you.
Yeah.
So I say, in nature, women always have the last say.
Egg.
So, you know, men here, don't argue with your wife. Even in nature, God gave them the last say. What have we got to say then? Yes. Okay, there's a special, you know, when the sperm cells, the egg is able to detect among these 6-7 sperm cells, which is the healthiest of all. Alright? It could be a vibrational frequency, it could be a certain type of coenzyme or whatever that they are able to detect from the sperm, that they know this is the healthier of those 6 or 7 that came through the first layer. So the egg in itself has the intelligence to try to pick the best and the fittest sperm. Not the sperm choose the egg, it's the egg choose the sperm. So, and we all had a good laugh. You know, when I say this to Sister Teresa, all the old, you know, like the Jewish, you know, all those old priests and all those, you know, they didn't know whether to laugh or not to laugh. So it was very funny. But anyway, okay, next. And the energy of consciousness is also something that we think about spiritual DNA. You know, we have a biological DNA, we also have spiritual DNA. You know, in the sense that you think about, you know, when you have a family that have 5 kids, alright, 5 children, and you would be surprised because they came from the same genetic pool of the mother and father. But you look at these 5 kids, all 5 of them have different personality. Their DNA, biological DNA is the same, but their personality, their characteristic is, in terms of their spiritual, you know, is very different. So for lack of a better term, we say spiritual DNA. Alright? Spiritual DNA. And it is very interesting that you look at how the soul evolved. You know, in the faith, we all know that the human soul has a beginning but has no end. Right? And this is interesting. You know, and we look at spiritual DNA is that soul. And souls, you know, they have a beginning but no end. What does that actually mean? Now, the Bahai tells us about the you know, that people talk about reincarnation. This is a big misconception of the outside world about, and if you don't work, you are lazy this life, next life you become a carabao. Make you work hard as punishment. Abdul Bahai says that's not true. Because how do you dispense justice when you, that guy who's lazy now, in next life born as a carabao? And the carabao's DNA is such that I enjoy plowing in the field. You ask me to sit there with nothing to do, I'm bored to death. You ask me a field to plow, I enjoy it, right? Because that's how they are programmed, right? A butterfly going out to look for nectar is something they enjoy, not suffering, all right? So how could that be justice, you know, in that sense? Huh? So when you think about all this, then you know, it dawned on me that Abdul Bahai was trying to tell us that everything is progressive. You know, you do not go back and become an animal when you already reach the human status, the human soul. You don't go back and become a mosquito. You know, it's just like you now have gone to graduate from college. I send you back to grade school again. What good does it do to you? All right? Or I send you back to high school after you graduate from university and you are a great scientist or whatever. As punishment, I send you back to high school again. Does that serve any purpose for your learning or your progress? No. So everything has to be progressive, you know. So when Lino, we went to Mindoro. I do not know whether you remember in Mindoro with this with the manyan. I do not know if you remember this. There was a tribe, in the Manyan tribe, there was a young boy, alright? Young boy. And there's no doubt that he's human, alright? But his mannerism was very much like an animal. Very interesting. His mannerism was very much like an animal, And when I saw him, I have no doubt that this guy is a human, But it gives me the feeling of what Abdul Baha says, that the human soul has a beginning, but it has no end. And I thought that this could be like a new human soul, which has a beginning. It's the beginning of a human soul, a new beginning, And it was very interesting. I mean, it was very pure, and he would come and stick around us and things like that. So these are thoughts that I'm trying to understand, into the teachings of Baha'u'llah and Bahai faith, that our soul only progresses, it doesn't move backward. And so it was very interesting from that perspective. So we talk about the kids, they have 5 different personalities. Why? There are certain qualities that are already inbuilt in them. Not biological, like having blue eyes or whatever, Some of them are an extrovert, some of them are introverts, some of them are very shy, some of them, they're born with certain ability and talents. You start thinking, hey, where did that come from? It didn't come from the biological DNA, things like that. So you start to think and to reflect and go and do research, why is it so? And I really, think that the Baha'i faith will have answers for this in the future. Next. And the cycle of health is when you're in normal health, then you begin to you shift out of equilibrium, you have a symptom, and then you're diagnosed, and then you go for treatment, you go for healing, and then you go. And this is a cycle that goes around everybody's health. And it is all about equilibrium. If you are in that state of equilibrium, you stay in the pink of health. Now once the equilibrium shifts, that's where your immune system comes down, you're prone to catching a cold, get sick, and so on and so forth. So that's where we want to keep the equilibrium. Yes. And the human body, this is something I just want to share with you. This is actually a lesson learned in that 4 years of my healing. Is that our human body is a masterpiece. And you know what a masterpiece is? It means it's a piece of art that has no flaws. No flaws. God didn't make any mistake when He made us, the human form. It's a masterpiece, no flaw. And this masterpiece of our body has the ability to heal itself when the conditions are favorable. When the conditions are favorable, the body heals. That's why I say the best doctor is the doctor within you. It has the ability to heal when the conditions are favorable. So, take for example, an alcoholic guy keeps drinking alcohol. And alcohol is toxic to the liver, is toxic to the brain, and it destroys those cells. So imagine if this guy is drinking hard liquor, it destroys the liver cells. So every time the liver cells, because of the toxicity of this alcohol that he consume, just use empirical number. Normal rate of death and reproduction of a cell, let's say the liver cell, I take it as, let's say 1,000 cells die every hour, and 1,000 new cells are born every hour. So it's keep in the state of equilibrium, right? 1,000 die and 1,000 new cells come out, born, in a sense, reproduce. And that is a state of equilibrium. But when you start drinking alcohol, all those things that are toxic to the body, to the liver cells, now that instead of 1,000 cells die, now 3,000 cells die. Right? But as I say, that the cell has a consciousness. So the cells will say, hey, I'm dying. We're dying here. Can you send reinforcement? So it sends signal to the other cells. The other cells, instead of reproducing at 1,000 cells per hour, now the rate of the cells has grown up. Has increased to 3,000 cells an hour to replace the 3,000 cells that die. Alright? So it replaces. Good example is look at the skin. If I give you an axe and chop down a tree, after 3 days, you look at the skin of your palm. You have this callus. which is the thickening of the skin. Why does it thicken? Because every time you use the axe, there's friction and it kills the cells on the surface. But when the cells are dying, they are sending signals to the cells below and say, we are dying here, can you please replace, SOS, reinforcement. So the cells below are now increasing in their reproductive rate of reproducing to more cells. And before you know it, instead of 1,000 cells die, 1,000 cells born, now 3,000 cells die, 3,000 cells born. But because this signal keep coming in very strong, even though 3,000 cells die, but I'm reproducing 5,000 cells per hour. What happened? The skin starts to thicken. And before long, you see the air, my skin here is thickened because I've used the axe for the last 3 days. Ask yourself, why did these cells thicken? Is it to harm you? Yes or no?
No.
No, right? Why does the cells thicken? To protect you. It's protecting you from foreign bodies from entering your body in the bloodstream that may cause you an infection. So the cell thicken to protect you, right? Not to harm you. Now this is an important part of understanding that dawned on me during that journey when I was doing this research. Why is the brain tumor cells? And I say that, why did it become a tumor? Is it to harm me? Is it to kill me? To destroy me? It's a part of me. And if I'm going to hate my tumor cells, there's this negative energy. And cells have a consciousness. Whenever they are in danger, they reproduce. That is the principle of survival. Take, for example, when you are sick with a bacterial infection and the doctor gives you antibiotics. When you take the first dose, it doesn't kill all the bacteria. Some of them are killed, but the others, wow, there's this antibiotic. They try to reproduce, they try to overcome this and develop this resistance towards the antibiotics. And you take it for 2 days, you say, hey, I feel good now. Third day, don't need anymore. I don't want to take anymore. Those remnant or residue of those bacteria that's in your body has developed that resistance to your antibiotics. Next time when you dispense the same antibiotic, the bacteria say, hey, no worries, we are going to party here, you're not going to harm us anymore. Because they've developed that resistance. Because the consciousness of a cell is to survive, reproduce. That's how they survive, to reproduce. So when a tumor or a cancer cell like this liver guy who keeps on drinking this vodka and all this hot liquor, it keeps killing the cell. So instead of reproducing 1,000 cells, die 1,000 new cells, now you produce 3,000. But this guy is a chronic drinker. And then the signal of the cells that are dying say, wow, this guy is poisoning us more and more. So the signal that goes out and says, we need more reinforcement. And before you know it, this signal is supposed to be temporary, only to take care of the period when the cells will die to replace them so that you stay in the equilibrium. But when the signal keeps coming, this temporary signal has now become a permanent signal. And the cells continue to reproduce at a high rate. And before you know, this guy has liver cancer. And that liver cancer, the cell reproducing is not actually to destroy him. It's because of the signal of the toxicity of the alcohol that was killing the cell, that was trying to save the cell that you begin to start growing. And then before that, you see the liver has this cancer and it's growing. So, with that, there's every time when you, let's say this guy only took one drink or a few drinks and some liver cells die. Then the liver tries to heal itself, replace the dead cell. And then the liver continue to be healthy. But if this guy continue to drink, then the conditions are not favorable for him to heal. You know, then he develops into a worse condition. So the conditions must be favorable in order for the body to heal. Now these conditions is not just physical, it's also our emotion, the way we think. Like I told you, the professor in motors water, you have negative energy, always thinking of bad things and all those things. It is also have that vibrational energy in the body that hinders the body from healing. That is not a favorable condition. You must be happy. You must be happy. You know, and so on and so forth. So, next.